We will begin this tutorial by creating a new survey, and we're going to browse for the test data example GENIO folder. We select Input, Convert from MX GENIO, and browse for the example survey GENIO file. There is a difference between how MX codes points and links, but it's not very different from how LSS works. In MX, the feature code appears as 4 characters, but only the first character represents the code itself. The following 3 characters represent a unique string identifier. For example, you might have a feature called BAFC. Now that looks like a 4-character feature code, but it isn't. B represents the code, and the AFC is a hexadecimal string number. And by hexadecimal we mean 0 to 9 and A through to F. For example, a code could be B001, B5AC, or BAFC, and so on. And because of this, we don't want to create new 4-character feature codes every time we load a GENIO file into LSS. We just want to grab the first character and then treat the others as string numbers. Therefore, we're going to use a conversion file. Under the surveys CNV or under the surveys test data CNV folder, you will find a GENIO to LSS conversion file, which if we edit, we can see contains 2 fields. The first field is the LSS code, and the second field is the GENIO code. The asterisk is what is called a wildcard, and what this means is that any string that begins with the letter A and is followed by any other characters will be converted to the LSS code A. One significant difference as well is that level strings are used in MX, and each spot level will be joined up with a L level string feature code, and we simply want to convert those to no feature code, which is just blank. I'm going to cover the string labels, SPF files for master strings and geometry strings in the next example, which will cover a road design. We can at this point decide whether we want to include 3D and or 2D data, and as soon as we hit OK, it has found 62 text items and 1256 3D points and 28 null level points, null level being points without a level at all. We can now select OK and save and load that load file. And there's the survey. If we repeat the exercise, but this time with a different data set, make sure that you delete all of the previous file names, because what we don't want to do is convert a new file name but create an old survey load file from it. Let's start off with just empty fields here. Pick up the design file. We don't need to define the LSS load file because, as we've discovered before, it will create a load file for the current survey with a unique file extension. Conversion file we leave as the standard GENIO to LSS conversion file, and this time this data set will contain string numbers. If I go and hit the edit button next to the load file, next to the GENIO file, you will see the feature code BFAA. Remember, B is the feature code and FAA is the unique string label. If we move down to the next code. We've got B again, this time FCC. What we want to do is retain the B, but just keep a note of the string label as well. So we can retain the string labels. Also, because this is a road design, it will contain master strings and geometry strings, and what we can get LSS to do is automatically create SPF files for the master and geometry strings. That's what we're going to do, and because it has found master or geometry strings, it's now asking us for the parameters for the section position file we want to create from that. The section interval is 10 meters by default, and for example I want to put a corridor width of 40 meters, that's 20 meters left and right of the center line. If we now save and load, that's the design, and if we over display the section position files, there are two. Those are the two alignment files that were part of the GENIO file, and if we were to zoom in and query the links, we will see that this feature is feature code I. It happens to be load created, so that all that means is that that code doesn't exist in the LSS legend, and you will see string ILP2. That's a unique identifier for that string. Then we move on to Verge VLPS string label, and so on. If we were to export this as a GENIO file, then we have the option of maintaining those string labels as well.